Director for the University Department of Orthopedics and Trauma Surgery, and I'm also the course director for the prestigious MCH Orth course. In addition, I have the role of a consultant trauma surgeon in Nine Wells Hospital, and I'm also an upper limb surgeon. For you, some of you who don't know where we are based, this is the map on the left of United Kingdom, and we are in Scotland, and we are around an hour away from Edinburgh. We are very well connected both from Glasgow and Edinburgh, and also to London via the East Coast train line. One of the main hallmarks of Dundee is the Major Trauma Centre, or Nine Wells Hospital, where I work, and this is one of the biggest hospitals in Scotland. In addition to this, the other hallmark of Dundee is the very famous MCH Orth course, which has been running for the last 26 years successfully. The course is based in Nine Wells Hospital and in the University of Dundee. The MCH Orth course structure is divided into semester 1 and semester 2. The semester 1 contains non-clinical subjects like biomechanics, medical statistics, and academic communication. The clinical subjects are shoulder and elbow, hand and wrist, pediatric orthopedics, tumor, and trauma. You have an exam at the end of the semester 1, and the semester 2 contains non-clinical of biomechanics, wheelchair, and orthotics, and the clinical part are spine, foot and ankle, knee, hip and knee, and tumor and infections. And again, you have an exam at the end of semester 2. In addition, you have to complete a research project and submit the thesis and appear for a viva and presentation. At the end of the course, you will have a viva for the thesis, a poster and paper presentation, and finally you sit the OSCE, which is the Objective Structured Clinical Examination, which is like your MS exam, where there are long and short cases for you to discuss with the examiner. And once you've passed all these assessments successfully, you're awarded an MCH Orth degree. So how does the MCH Orth teaching plan look like? So this is for this year, and if you see, what we do is we allow you to attend the theaters and clinics in the morning, and afternoon is the teaching. So usually starts around 2 o'clock, and it's quite a busy timetable for the whole week. And as you can see, one day there would be chronic pain syndrome, spastic hand deformities. One day it will be pediatrics. One day it will be all about humeruses, distal humerus, radial head fracture, acute elbow instability. And these are all lectures which are, some of them are based in Dundee, but most of them are external lecturers who are authorities in their field, will be discussing these complex issues with you. The teaching is very sort of case-based. We don't try and teach people book-based teaching or didactic teaching, because we want you to understand, question, and think why you do things. Similarly, if you see the second another week, this looks quite busy as well. And you have proximal humerus fractures, you have cerebral palsy, you have elbow arthroscopy, and also you will have quite a few sessions of cadaveric workshops, which are on Thiel cadaver, which are very lifelike cadavers. And you get shoulder and elbow with cuff repair, hand and wrist techniques, tips and tricks, which I lead on. In the second semester, you again have spine. So you have cadaveric spine anatomy, you have knee injuries, you have approaches to the knee, and complex hip and knee discussions. It is quite a busy timetable, but hence the 9 months run off very, very fast, because you're also doing your thesis, you're also reading around the topics, and also attending theaters and clinics and your NHS attachment. The MCH Orth covers the whole spectrum of orthopedics, including major trauma. So we see this is a major trauma, so you will see some horrendous injuries. We also then cover the specialties of upper limb, revision, hip and knees, foot and ankles, spine, soft tissue knee, pediatrics, pelvis and acetabular fractures, revision, infection surgery. So the whole, in a nutshell, most of the times when students come back and tell us, they say that they have relearned the whole orthopedics and updated their knowledge over 9 months. Again, you'll be in theaters assisting the consultants. You'll be attending the cadaveric workshops, and also getting lots of symposiums and webinars and face-to-face teachings in a big lecture hall. One of the highlights of our course is the cadaveric anatomy sessions, and these this year we have introduced pure anatomy sessions for you to relearn the anatomy, because a lot of us have forgotten the anatomy because we have not been to the cadaveric halls for 20-30 years. There is elbow and shoulder and elbow workshops, hand and wrist workshop, computer navigated workshop, and then also this year we have introduced spine and foot and ankle workshops. So in addition, we do a lot of symposiums, like this year we did foot and ankle trauma symposium, pelvic and acetabular symposium, and our annual sports injury symposium, which was attended by lecturers from US. So now the question you would have in mind is, how does the teaching happen in the COVID circumstances? We have done, this is our second year with COVID, and we have ran it very successfully. So the teaching is usually a hybrid pattern. So what we're going to do now, the rules are relaxed. So we will get all the lecturers that can come in. They'll be teaching you face to face, interacting with you, answering your questions. However, some of the lecturers who are quite far away, they will be teaching you online, but live lectures, and that has run very, very well for the last 18 months. We have Sadiq with us, who will tell you how the lectures ran once in the second part of this video. We'll be giving you reading materials to read before and after the lectures, and also there will be, you can ask questions. And again, the workshop and the small anatomy things will all be face to face with your demonstrators. Research, a very important part of the MCHR degree. You have to submit, it's a master's degree, so you need to submit a thesis. And again, because at the moment we are not able to do face-to-face research, most of your projects, at least for the next year, will be based on the data we have collected in a multiple joint registries and other trauma registries that we have. So some of the projects that I had given this year was one looking at the arthroscopic versus open cuff repairs. Other was looking at dissatisfaction in total knee replacement. Other looking at patellofemoral joint replacement, and the data is already collected. You analyze the data and present the thesis, and all of our students passed very well. If there is a chance, we may be able to do some pilot projects if we are allowed to do some face-to-face, and there would be some capacity to do some pelvic work. NHS attachment is one of the things that highlights us from other courses, because this is you gain lots of clinical skill, knowledge and experience in this, and you are attached to one consultant and also to one trauma team. You'll have one clinical supervisor with whom you'll rotate around with your trauma elective. You go and attend their theaters, their trauma theaters and their clinics. We will ask you about your choices. So some of you might want to work with a knee surgeon, some might want to work with a hip surgeon, some might want to work with an upper limb surgeon, and some might want to work on foot and ankle surgeon. So we have capacity for you to be adjusted so that your subspecialty themes is addressed. Again, we will be, the way COVID is, we will wax and wane, and we'll have to follow the university guidelines of the coronavirus. So we'll have to protect ourselves, protect others, and make sure that unnecessarily we're not creating an infection, so that we can carry on with our course. When you're coming to Dundee, you have a very good staff who have been exceptionally praised for our support to the students, and you'll meet all of them who are extremely helpful and supportive of you. So this is me telling you everything, but what do the students tell us? Because that's important for you, because I can always say it's a very good course. So this was the feedback from 2-3 years ago. I'll leave it for a minute for you to read before the COVID hit us. And generally the students find that they find the MCHR course very, very comprehensive. They find that it changes their perception to treat patients, how to behave, how to mature, and we have been given 5 stars for the course. When the COVID hit, this was the first batch 2019-2020, and again we had to very quickly in the second semester change everything to online, and it was only because of the staff support and support of everyone else and our IT team we were able to do it very well. So again, if you see here, these are the students who had part 1 was all face-to-face, part 2 was all online. but they felt that we were well prepared for it, and they did not lose out a lot. Finally, this is this year's feedback, which just came in a couple of weeks ago, and these students have completely been, most of them have been online, although they have attended their NHS attachments and their workshop. So this is a pure COVID time feedback, and I'll leave it for a minute for you to read. So you see that they enjoyed the cadaveric workshop. They felt the teaching was phenomenal. The workshop and symposium were fabulous. Some said they wanted a longer course, but at the moment we have 9 months. And also the general theme coming out from all the feedback over the years is that the support that the MCHR staff offer is amazing. So if you're coming here, you will be well supported, whether it's COVID situation or not, or if it's another virus that comes in. So with that little note, thank you very much. That's our web address. Mr. Sadiq, who is with me, will put a slide on various links, including a virtual tour of our department. The second part of the video, stay for that, because we will have our staff who deal with your applications, who deal with your admissions, and also there is a student who was a class monitor this year who will be telling about her experiences of how she felt during the COVID time, studying in COVID times in the MCHR. So please don't go away, and we'll come back soon. Hello everyone, we are joining with the MCHR team now, so that we can briefly address some of the common concerns that you have. As I said to you, at the end of this lecture or the video, you will have a lot of links and email address that you can email us for any queries that you have. So we are joined by Libby, who is the MCHR, who was MCHR coordinator. She's just about moved, but she has probably the greatest knowledge that we have. We're also joined by Kenzie, who is our course administrator. Sadiq, you met in the previous lecture. He's our IT man and does everything for MCHR and is a big support to me. And finally, I'll introduce you to Pavitra, who is was the class monitor for this year, and she is now successfully finished her MCHR course. She's an MCH alumni now, so congrats, Pavitra. And she's flying off to India tomorrow, back to Kanyakumari. So Libby, let's start with you. And so some of the students maybe thinking of just applying first. So what's the best way of apply? How long is the process, and is there help at hand?
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Jariwala. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So yes, applying actually for the MCH Auth program is a relatively easy process. It's a direct application system, so you just apply directly through the website. Some of you may choose to go through an agent, and that's entirely up to you. They can help you through a lot of the process, but that's very much an individual decision. I would always advise when applying to have all of the documentation that you're likely to need to hand. That makes the whole admissions process much quicker, much slicker. So we're talking about all of the academic qualifications that I think Mr. Jariwala will have taken you through earlier, but we're also talking about references, and you'll be asked to evidence your English language level. So either an IELTS qualification or something similar. So if you have all of that documentation to hand, then use it when you're applying, and that will make the admissions process much faster. Now, normally we would expect admissions to take around anywhere between sort of 5 and 10 working days, but it depends on the complexity of your application itself. So I would say that when you're making an application, make sure you check your emails really carefully, because the admissions team will contact you directly if they're looking for additional information. And often university emails can get pushed into your spam or junk folders, and that can delay the process a little. So make sure you check all of your emails really, really carefully. And then, you know, once you make an application, you'll be introduced to my colleagues within the international engagement team. And that is the team that will help and guide you through every step of the admissions process. It's a team who will be in touch with you through a variety of methods. So you may choose to email them, but you might be in touch with them through WhatsApp or possibly Facebook Messenger, whichever method suits you. I think I was in touch with Pavitra through WhatsApp primarily, but and it varies from country to country. But that will be your contact, your direct contact with the university, you know, within the central sort of team, as it were, and they will be able to guide you through all of the admissions process from you know, accepting your offer, meeting your conditions, making your minimum tuition fee down payment, applying or looking for accommodation, right through to your CAS and then the visa application, and then your journey and arrival in Dundee. So your engagement officer, and I'm not 100% sure who that will be at the moment, but there is a general international engagement team address that you'll be given once you make your application. They will be the best people to guide and advise you throughout that kind of admissions process. And that person will typically, or the team will typically, be in touch with the school really closely about your application. So, you know, it's a kind of a team approach, very much a team approach with the MCH Auth program.
Thank you, Libby. That's very, very helpful. And as Libby said, that if you have all the documentation ready, when you're applying, it's very easy for us, because the team sits down every week to look at all the application. We can look at it and say, yeah, that's fine. That's an unconditional offer, straight off on you go. But so if some of the documentations are not there with you, then we'll give you a conditional offer and we'll ask you to submit in due course. But that shouldn't differ you to, if you don't have a CV or your boss, your consultant or the referee is away for some time, apply, because we can always get the other one. So you'll get a conditional offer if you meet the minimum entry requirement. So one other thing was, Libby, was, so there are some awards available for students. So can you just briefly tell us about them, please?
Yes, so scholarships that are available from within the University of Dundee. Now, the scholarships are decided on a yearly basis. So I think probably it's a good idea for me to talk around the three major scholarship categories that we have. So we have we have three scholarships that sit kind of within the same pot. So we have our Global Excellence Scholarship, which is worth £5,000 as a tuition fee discount. And that will be automatically, you don't have to apply for that, you will be assessed for that automatically when you make your application. So the admissions team will look at your application and they will let you know whether you've got the Global Excellence Scholarship. If you're not awarded the Global Excellence Scholarship, then you may be eligible to apply for the Global Citizen Scholarship, a mouthful there, or you may be automatically eligible for one of our regional scholarships. So, for example, this year we've had regional scholarships for applicants from Africa, all of the African nations, and we've also had regional scholarships for all of the applicants from all of our South Asian countries. So all of our applicants from India have been eligible for our South Asia scholarship this year. Now, you cannot hold more than one of those scholarships from those three. So it's either the Global Excellence, the Global Citizen Scholarship, or one of the regional scholarships. But there are other scholarships available, sometimes from outside of the university, that you might be eligible to apply for, such as the Saltire Scholarship, if you come from one of those countries. And if you have a family member, a close family member, who is an alumni from the university, you may be eligible for the alumni scholarship as well. And there are quite strict criteria on that. So, but it's definitely worth looking into scholarships. And again, the engagement team will be your best point of contact to find out about those. They are decided on a year-by-year basis and they do change. So, but the international engagement team will have all of that up-to-date information.
Good. Thank you, Libby. So it's important as just remember when you're applying, think about the awards or the scholarships that are available. Thanks, Libby. So once we have applied, Kenzie, just tell us what happens once their application comes in.
Yeah, so once you have applied and we have received your application, admissions will check your application to make sure that you've got all the documents required. So Mr. Jariwala can review your application. If, as Libby said previously, if you've not provided all of your documents that we require, admissions will request this from you. So it may make your application process just a little bit delayed. If you have provided all the documents that we require, your application will then be sent to us by admissions, and we then update your record with all the relevant information. This then gets passed on to Mr. Jariwala, and he will review your application, as he said, in a weekly meeting, and he'll make a decision on your application. Once this has been done, I then update your record again and process the decision, and that's sent to admissions. Admissions then update their records, and we will then notify you shortly after, probably a couple of weeks or so, and that you'll be informed of your outcome. If you've got a conditional offer, you can accept your offer and prepare to meet the conditions. So if you have English language requirements to meet, you can start to think about arranging a test, or if you need any more information on that, as Libby said, the international team can guide you on this and give you further information if you need it. If you have an unconditional offer, you can accept this, and then admissions will provide further information on what you need to do as your next steps. Usually that will be your deposit and then moving on to the CAS process and things like that. So that's basically what we do with your application once we receive it.
Thanks. So unfortunately, Sheila is not here, so I'll take her role. So once you've applied, everything has gone through, and you're allocated a place for example, January 2022 or September 2022, you'll be informed of coming starting date. So we normally bring you in a couple of days, sort of a week before, because of the COVID times. We need get ready for the course. In addition, what Sheila and Kenzie will do is send you some documents for occupational health clearance, and also some reading materials to prepare for your startup. Once you come here, we'll get you assessed by the occupational health to get your vaccination done, so that you're ready for your NHS attachment, which is one of the things that you're looking forward, because you want to come and scrub up your surgeons, go to clinics, see surgeries, and see how we do orthopedics in the UK. The lectures will start thereafter, and I'll hand it over to Sadiq to tell you how the lectures at the moment are working with live lectures, what support you have. We have a WhatsApp group, so he'll update you about this. Sadiq, please.
Hello. For lectures, we use our IT have like two platforms. We use a Blackboard and Microsoft Teams. So we have alternatives. So we can use either Microsoft Teams or Blackboard, depending on our lecturers. And once you have matriculated, you will receive ID and password, which is the huge. It will open up huge resources for you. So this ID and password you can use for many resources like your library, your Wi-Fi, and this ID you can also use when you travel within UK. You go to another university, you still can use Wi-Fi there as well. It opens up all the international journals and books and all those resources as well. So that can be used as soon as you receive your ID and password after matriculation. Then once you start, probably we have like hybrid kind of teaching now. So we'll have face-to-face as well as online. So this way can go simultaneously now. So last year it worked very well. So while doing face-to-face, you can have online session as well. It will be recorded and it goes to your coursework. So at a later date, if you want to view that and see how the lectures was done, if you want to catch up anything which you have missed during the lectures, that you can do. If you have not be able to attend for any reason, you can still view those lectures. Again, sometimes it will depend on sensitivity of the lecture as well. Sometimes lecturers don't want to record if they have some clinical cases which has issues with all the sensitivity. So those sometimes we don't, but majority of the lectures will be recorded and you will be able to view them online anytime of your time. I can share my screen with you to show you how it will be like. So this is one of the platform Blackboard, which we use for all the coursework. So if I go in there, so it will look something like this, where you can see like upper limb, hand, wrist, and then you can browse through, and then you will see all the lectures in there. We also use Microsoft Teams, which is like this, and we have all these lectures recorded for you. So you can download and view in your own time as well.
Okay, thanks, Sadiq. And also Sadiq manages the, if you unshare your screen, please, Sadiq. So Sadiq also manages the WhatsApp group when you're here. So there's a small WhatsApp group so that you can ask any questions that are happening or anything that you want to ask. So there is help at hand. And also this WhatsApp Poor Sadiq helps you out on the weekend as well. So there's a lot of help for you. Okay. Now, before I hand it over to Pavitra, so once the MCH finishes, so basically there are options, as I said to you before. Options are most of the students go back to India because they're practicing consultants and they just want to get on with things, start cutting and become the better surgeons that they've been taught to become in Dundee. Some of you want to do a little focused fellowships. This year we will not be able to do that because of the COVID, but we'll be opening up next year. So it will be all focused plus subspecialty fellowship. And I'll discuss this in the first couple of lectures when I meet you. And then some of you might want to sit MRCS or PLAB to work in UK, and that's another good opportunity because a lot of what we teach here, a lot of things you see of how to manage patient is being you already see in the clinics. So a lot of your MRCS is being helped by the MCH Orth course. So it's a good time to do it. Again, some of you, the family is not here, so you have more time on weekends to read about MRCS. And at the moment, UK is needing lots of doctors, good doctors. So it's a good time to come to UK. So with that little sort of team brief, I would then like to invite Pavitra, who was our course or class monitor. She's an orthopedic surgeon from Kanyakumari with a family of orthopedic surgeons. And she came to do her MCH in the COVID time. So very brave of her. She was the lone female warrior. So and I always believe that the female species are better than us. So I made her the class monitor. And she has done very, very well, keeping all the boys in control. So what we will, as I said, from all of us, you will always hear good things, but I wanted to bring in Pavitra so she can share her experience because she's the one who went through the COVID. How did she find the course? What was the support? How did she find the lectures, the teaching, the clinical attachment, the exams, and then how does she find herself in terms of how she was 10 months before coming to MCH? So Pavitra, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Jariwala. That was a very nice introduction. Thank you, so kind of you. We were actually a very lucky batch and a very small batch of only 7 students. We joined in January, and all the UDOF staff members, including Libby, Sheila, Sadiq, Ian, Graham, everyone, we were accustomed to the course and the schedule even well before we arrived to Dundee, and they were very helpful in finding us accommodations and suggesting the places to stay around nearby. And Sheila did a wonderful job in giving class schedules. We had online classes and almost how much ever possible we even had face-to-face interactions, and the department was very keen on us to join in clinics and face-to-face lectures. So we were requested and advised to meet the NHS people to get our first vaccines, and we got our vaccines and we were able to go to the clinics, attend OT, attend fracture clinic and morning trauma meets. They were and all the consultants, all the registrars, they were very helpful, very friendly and very approachable. So any doubt we have, any suggestions we have, any treatment plans we have, we were always welcome to share our thoughts with them. And I would say this was one of the best experience I've had. And Dundee, University of Dundee and Nine Wells has the world well-known Thiel cadaver, so we could have a very good hands-on feel of the anatomy classes in Thiel cadavers, which is very different field from what we have learned with formalin-based cadavers. And also we used to have well-scheduled workshops based on the class timings, what we have. If it's upper limb, then we'll have upper limb workshops, lower limb with lower limb workshops. And they were very, very useful in trying to recollect our anatomy and how to focus on the surgical point of view. The only little discomfort was, to have online classes because of COVID, but all the professors and consultants from all over UK and even sometimes abroad, they were very, they would give us spare time to have a very interactive and long sessions. Any doubts we had, no doubt was small, no doubt was considered stupid or not of any importance. Every doubts were cleared, and I would say that we might have not had that experience sometimes during face-to-face interactions, because we'll be in a hurry to go to theater and see the next patient. So having few hours to ourselves to discuss on regarding each X-rays or on each topic, that was actually a plus, I would say. And going around Scotland, we could use our student ID cards and student ID bus pass, so which we could go around in Scotland in buses, and it was a wonderful experience. I'm so blessed to be here. Finished an MCH successfully. I would really thank Mr. Jariwala, Sadiq, Libby, Sheila, Ian, and my research mentors, Mr. Clift, Mr. Tim Drew, and in his mechanics class, and they were also very helpful in refining our thesis. We could mail them all our rough drafts, and they would do proofread and help us even during the weekends. So this was really a very friendly approach, and that made me very comfortable going to go to the next step in my life. Taking back, I came to know more of research-based evidence, how to go ahead with a case, how to plan a surgery, and research more. I focus more into research process, and also what is the latest advancements, what is the latest and in trend diagnosis and procedures. Whatever is there in the world is known to every consultant here. So overall, it was a very wonderful experience, and I would suggest everyone to register and do this course. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Pavitra, for that.
Thank you.
Like sharing your experience. And I think that's generally the experience that most of us, or probably all of the students, will have. Yes. And I think because of the team, we were able to completely disregard COVID. And our external examiner from last year, he mentioned in the main school medical school board meeting that it seemed as if COVID did not happen in UDOTS. So I think that was a big statement for somebody who's completely external to us, has no bias. He doesn't know our system, but when he went through a system, he felt as if the COVID didn't happen in UDOTS and everything worked smoothly. So, and that's a big testament of the hard work that people do behind the screen, behind the shop, to make all the students happy and make sure they reach their aims. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Pavitra. Good luck with your flight. Safe flight and good luck. And hopefully we see you in Kanyakumari. Thanks, Libby. Hope you have a good job. I'm sure it will be not as good as this, but I'm best of luck. And thanks, Sadiq and Kenzie, for joining. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.